Good morning, guys. It's going to be one of those weeks I see already. Video take two. I forgot to turn the mic on, so I go all the trouble making a video, didn't have the mic on. Added, uploaded, and everything. Oh, it's going to be one of them mornings. Please like my video if you get a chance. Retweet me on X if you get a chance, and like me if you get a chance. I like the comments below on the YouTube channel. If you're seeing something that I'm not seeing, I appreciate. Okay, and spread the word. This is a free service, so remember that. So it doesn't hurt to have more viewers. Okay, guys. So bottom line is, I'm going to start with the dollar here right now, and I have a feeling as we get closer into the uh, got a 3 month reprieve on the tariff situation, and we still haven't had any signed deals on the tariff front. I think as we get closer and closer to it, we're going to see a further breakdown in the dollar as foreign investors pull more money out of U.S. equities. So heads up on that. I do think we may have hit a major topping area in the markets for the short squeeze potentially here. So be very mindful of that as well. Okay, guys. So I just wanted to start with the dollar there, suggesting that we might see further weakness in the dollar, and that could actually have a negative impact on commodities going forward here. But so far this morning, we do have some things going on this morning here on the futures front. Let's get this pulled up here real quick, guys. Okay, as far as the bullish side of the market, get this. VX futures up 2.43%. So we have some fear coming into the market, the VX futures. Uh, here, I got the wrong chart. There it is. Okay, guys. So you see this right here. We're trying to see if that's going to become new support. We're bouncing right where potentially we should bounce. So be very mindful of that here on the VX futures. Potentially a very critical bounce point here on VX futures early on this morning. Okay, so be very mindful of that. Similar situation on the VIX. We've just about completely filled this gap. We came down. If you zoom in here, we came down. This right here is a buy zone. Came right to the bottom of this buy zone. Now this morning we're gapping up onto this. So hey guys, this may have completed. So even though there is a little bit of a gap down here, we may have completed a downside on the volatility futures, suggesting that we may have hit a major high in the markets. So be very mindful of that going forward here. Okay, guys. Another thing that I wanted to point out this morning. So GC is up this morning. Gold catching a little bit right into what should be the very first tier of support. Uh, so heads up on that. We didn't know if that's support or resistance. This actually should be green. Shouldn't be red because this is technically support until it isn't. Get that light green there. So this is acting as a bull flag support. Heads up on that. Acting very bullish here on the commodity front there. There is news out now since we had the jobs numbers there Friday that they are pushing back the expectations of a rate cut till July now. Probably we have Fat Powell coming out Wednesday, and the premise is that Powell will not be doing a rate cut, and even Trump this morning was alluding to that fact that there won't be a rate cut Wednesday. But it could be a big surprise for the market. You never know. Maybe they're setting everybody up to surprise everybody. You just never know. Okay, guys. We're getting a bid, right? Critical support here on our copper this morning. Commodity, silver, right here into these prior highs right here. Catching a bid right where we need to catch a bid in silver this morning. Commodity, heads up on that. This here is your bounce area, potential bounce area support. So be very mindful of that on the bullish side this morning. Um, Another one early on this morning, HG. There's news out of Europe. They have multi-decade contracts with Russia. They are trying to find legal ways to justify breaking those contracts. in 2027. Okay, and the news out this morning, they're looking for alternate sources for nat gas, and so nat gas is rallying this morning. This is a big, possible inflationary situation for nat gas going into coming this winter. If they're serious about trying to break these contracts with Russia and move away from Russian national nat gas, that could be quite inflationary for the U.S. consumer on heating costs. So we have to be very mindful of this going forward here. A potential change in supply dynamics forming here in nat gas, potentially making heating costs much more expensive. But it hasn't happened yet, so we don't want to infer too much into that scenario. Okay, guys. As far as the worst things happening this morning, crude this morning. Heads up on that. Uh, let's see here. I don't know. Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the worst this morning. There you go. We came into a major a potential topping area here on Bitcoin, rejecting early on this morning. It's not the end of the world, but as long as we hold above 91 200, something like that, 91 200, it's just in potentially a chop area, but we are rejecting potentially a very critical area here for Bitcoin this morning. So that could weigh heavily on MSTR in today's trading. um, crude crude we got down to 50, almost $55 a barrel overnight here into a double bottoming situation. There are warnings out the OPEC Plus is oversupplying capacity for crude, and Saudi Arabia was warning them all about the oversupply issues happening. And this is on a weakening dollar situation. So, guys, you don't realize how bad this is when you have a weak dollar giving at $55. So when you have a double combo like that, that is really bad for any crude suppliers. And the idea of having oversupply at these prices on a weak dollar, that's a double negative for those suppliers. So be very mindful of that. This is probably not a sustainable situation to the downside. I'd much rather be looking towards the upside on crude than the downside, in my opinion. You're getting yourself really backed in the corner on the downside. Uh, but they are depressing crude right now to keep inflation in check, and that's, we're oversupplying crude, trying to baby drill, part of the Trump policy and stuff like that. But when you start getting down to these levels here, you have to get worried that the spring is going to bounce back at any moment. So be very mindful of that. So, and then one of the worst ones this morning, Russell. Russell's almost down 1% this morning. We came right into a major back test. Major. I'm telling you guys, you don't realize just how big of a back test area this is. Let's go out 3 years. So, guys, this was a major, major back test we just did on the Russell. I would only consider shorts on this, realizing how important this is. This is a head and shoulders pattern. This is the left shoulder. This is the right. We came right into that major back test as of Friday. This came right up into that major back test. Now we're potentially failing. We don't know how long it's going to take for this to play out. Like I said, the only thing I'd even be thinking about is to the short side on the Russell, knowing how that was such a major, major area that we just rejected in the overnight session. So be very mindful of that going forward here. And we may not get any follow through all week long. It might be next week before we get any type of follow through. But this is something to be thinking in the back of your mind. A major rejection, potential setting up here for the Russell. Other things, 0.79. And what I do want to point out, if you're going to be bearish to markets generally, you want to see the risk on assets leading the charge to the downside. That's exactly what we got going on. The Russell, the NASDAQ, they are slightly more bearish than bullish in today's session. Okay, guys. So what do I know for sure this morning? Okay, guys. Uh, the NASDAQ came down, back tested, continued lower. Okay. Now we're in, came back up to these highs, back tested again. Now we're coming back down again. So we're in this chop area, this entire chop area right now. That we're in this chop area. We have not lost this support yet, but I would be looking at this point in time for us to walk down, lose this, come back up and back test, and see if that fails for a further downside. So that's something that I'm thinking in the back of my mind. But we have lost one critical major support already here on the NASDAQ. It's acting as new resistance. This is acting as a blow off top. We have to be very mindful here. This here is where the exponential 50 SMA, 200 SMA cross. If you draw a line straight from that cross, this here is a major resistance area, and it's acting as resistance already this morning. Heads up on that pre-market. That is a major resistance already proving itself. Also, the weekly 50 SMA acting as major resistance. It looks like we reached up into the 50 SMA and it is rejecting. A few little things that I'm looking at. This is the market maker move high from last week. I didn't update it for this week, so be very mindful of that. I do also want to point out his inventory from Sunday night open, 100% net short the market. So everything about this suggests that we might potentially have put a blow off top into major resistance into the markets. It might take a few days for it to play out, but everything that I'm seeing so far this morning, that's exactly what it's showing me. Okay. ESs, similar situation. We came into the weekly 50 SMA, tagged it to the tick, rejected on the ESs. So they took it right to the tick, the weekly 50 SMA, and said, forget you, we're done. Okay. And this looks like a blow off top. The exponential death cross just blew right through it on the way back down in the after hour session. So, heads up on that. Okay, guys. This here is actually right here. Remove this. Right here is a tier. We did a tier break right there. Okay, guys. So that's becoming new resistance. Heads up on that. We don't know if that's going to be valid or not, but this is acting as our new resistance right there. Okay, guys. And so what we're doing right now, we look below this support right here, or this resistance right here. We look below, came up, back tested it. We actually overshot it. So be very mindful that we've already overshot this once. Okay, so we have to be mindful that the main resistance is probably more up here. Okay, guys. So if I was actually looking for a short in the markets, we've already come down once. We back tested, now we rejected. Okay, so the first setup in this short, that's your higher odds short. Okay, in the markets. So if we come back up to it again, your probabilities actually dramatically decrease for the second touch. Okay, guys. So be very mindful of that going into today's session. If we get back up here to the 5680, I particularly would not want to see us start making any type of bids over 5680 in today's session. Okay, guys. So that's kind of what I'm looking at right here. We're actually walking down here a little bit. It looks like you see this support right here, resistance. This right here looks like a minor support resistance area right here. Walking down right there. Okay, this right now seems to be acting as some sort of minor support resistance right there. I would like to see that fail. So ideally, we'll see how this plays. We're walking this trend so far. I think there's a really good odds we're going to see this fail. So we'll see how it plays out in today's session. Okay, guys. Other things that I'm looking at here. Let's see here. Pre-market here. Try to keep my video as short as possible as I can. Okay, early on this morning, a lot of volume in Tesla and semiconductors. One thing I did mention, or Taiwan Semiconductor was really hot last week. And I do want to point out there has been a 7% increase in the Taiwanese currency over the past 2 days, two trading sessions. So that is a massive increase in the Taiwanese currency. So that is a net negative for Taiwan Semiconductor. I'd be very hesitant trying to push this trade higher, knowing that the Chinese currency is appreciating as fast, or the Taiwanese currency is appreciating as fast as it is, because that is very dangerous situation for these really strong trends. They can revert in a heartbeat. So I'd be very careful if you're trying to push the upside here in something like Taiwan Semiconductor going forward this week. Palantir, we're into a double topping area. My big warning on Palantir, go here on the daily time frame, we're into this double top, all-time high double top. Right here is where the CEO came out and said, hey, guys, Doge is coming in and they're slashing these government contracts, and we're going to have to dramatically lower our earnings expectation going forward because they are so heavily weighted to government contracts. And here we are into this double top. We're getting a little, we're right here. So we're a little bit higher than the Friday close, but we still haven't broken out. But I would be very careful trying to push this for the breakouts. We know it's been a very strong stock, but the CEO himself has set to come up and said, "Hey, I'm warning you guys. I mean, there's something, we got problems developing in our product line. So be very mindful of this. If we potentially were to get some sort of short setup in this trend. So if you go right here, if you put a regression channel." I think we're already breaking the regression channel from right here on this regression channel. You see, guys, we're already breaking that regression channel. Okay, we could do a back test and fail. I definitely would want to have that on watch going forward here. That this could be very trappy in the markets. I would be very, the close is right down through here. We looked above, right into that double top, and it could very well be a failing pattern. So I definitely want to warn that. It is one of the highest volume things this morning. To me, I'd be very careful on that going forward here. Tesla, it is bull flagging technically still. So, trying to digest sideways here in a potential bull flag in major resistance above us, heads up on that. But technically still a bull flag, and you don't want to. You need the market to tell you that there's more weakness coming into this name, which we currently don't have. Okay, guys. Let's see here, other things this morning. Amazon. I was looking at that earlier. I think Amazon could be going sub 180. There's a fair value gap down here in the 180s, below 180. I think there's a good chance that you're going to see filling this fair value gap here on Amazon. So be very mindful of that going forward here. Other ones I was looking at, Apple looks like a bearish pattern to me. Apple looks like a bearish pattern. If you put your moving average there and you look at, it doesn't really matter. Even go 1 hour. Yeah, okay. You have to go to smaller time frames. Okay, 30-minute was it? Yeah, see the 30 minutes, see how it's rolled over on the 200. The 200 is starting curling over here. So be mindful of that going forward here. We're below the must hold area. Okay. We could very well be coming up, back testing the must hold, setting up for a short. If we were to get a 206 back test today or something like that, that could very well be setting up as a short for Apple. So be very mindful of that. We haven't completely filled this fair value gap even. I think the odds are setting up for that fill, here really soon. So be very mindful of that going forward here. Okay. Other ones, Microsoft. I wouldn't really want to short Microsoft as we have not filled this upper fair value gap yet. So this is still open. The upper fair value gap. This doesn't look like something that I particularly want to short. just realizing that the upper fair value gap has not been satisfied yet. Meta was actually looking pretty good earlier today. Yeah, we're above a critical breakout, looking for a back test on this critical breakout. If you go over here on the bigger time frame, 4 hour maybe. Darn it, what's going on there? Let's go 4 hour. Okay, guys, so this is a critical breakout, possibly into a backtest area. Looking for a potential continuation to the upside. Right into this major, major resistance. This could very well be a blow off top. Above this fair value gap area, and there may not be any interest in owning this above this fair value gap. So be very mindful of this. A very dangerous area. But technically, we're trying to break out still. Even though it's down this morning, it's still in a technical breakout. It hasn't actually failed the pattern yet this morning. So I do want to point that out. You have to be careful. You don't want to assume the pattern is going to fail until it does. Okay. NVIDIA, into major resistance. It's still acting as a major wall here. We have a fair value gap above that has not been fully satisfied yet. You would think this thing was going to fill before we had any further downside pressure. I really don't want to be net short until we actually fill this area. Okay, so that's just my personal takeaway. That's why I don't want to be overly bearish today, because I'm seeing some patterns here that suggest, there's some things that don't quite look completed yet. So I don't really want to be overly bearish. We do have some action in the SOXL and the semiconductors this morning. And I do want to point out AMD is reporting tonight. So heads up on that. AMD is reporting tonight, and that could maintain a bid under the semiconductors, waiting for the AMD data to hit the tape. So I do definitely want to be mindful of that. And I've also been watching Google. The only problem I got with Google, we do have a fair value gap down here below that has not satisfied for Google. To me, it looks like a constructive. It's building a bullish base to me. We're walking higher lows. We got a higher high put in. It just, to me, looks like it's walking higher here and it's going to, So I just got to be very mindful here. We're into these prior low areas here. They're still supporting early on this morning. So I need some more evidence, that we're going to be breaking. I actually need lower prices for me to start thinking to the short side again. Actually, to me, it looks like a constructive bull flag, to buy the dips. So in my opinion, Google looks more like buy the dips until it doesn't. Okay, and so I just definitely want to keep that in the back of everybody's mind going forward here. Okay, so that's pretty much some of the things I'm looking at here. I don't know if I'm going to be bullish or bearish this morning. I really don't know. I mean, this is the first day of the week, so we have to be mindful here. It does make sense that we could come down early on this week to repair some structure, because we do have some poor structure below us. So coming down, repairing some structure makes a whole lot of sense to me. And so I definitely want to keep that in the back of everybody's mind. And when I say bad structure, I mean, we got, if you put your market webs on your charts real quick, if you put, go over here on the 1 hour. Okay, guys. So, we're 4,562 this morning. Okay, guys. And anytime I see situations like this, you see that really high volume here right at the highs of the session, that warns me that there was some heavy selling that was starting to come into the markets. Okay, guys. So whenever I see a really high print like that suggests to me this here is where the institutions, the bulls and the bears, they were trying to decide which way to take the market. Ultimately, it led higher Friday. So a back test into this area You really need a back test into this area to put all the bulls back on defense. Okay, so a move back down to the 551 area is very much potential. Okay, so I do want to point that out. A move back to 551 that would put all these bulls back on major defense. But above that 551, technically you're still by the dip because all these institutions that they're a-okay. They're willing to buy the dips, until we start losing this accumulation zone. When we start losing the accumulation zone, that's whenever they start saying, well, maybe I was wrong about the bullish side, and maybe I need to lighten up on some of these bullish positions. So right here, like I said, 551, really critical support. We're still above it. So I don't want to overly short the markets, knowing that's where the institutions were loading the boat, making bullish and bearish bets, which resolved higher. Similar situation down here. The 475 area, very critical area. We're currently trading 484. So we're still 9 points above where the major institutions place their bet. So basically, until we get down and start violating these areas here, all those big bets the institutions put on, they're not willing to part with those bets. So that's a natural bid under the market, until that happens. Okay, guys. And we don't have that currently in the market, that scenario. IWM, see what's going on there. Similar situation, this is actually coming down a little bit faster. Very poor structure up here. We got up there into those highs on very poor structure. I think this thing here can just come down like a rocket. Okay, so the 195, I mean, somewhere between the 196, 194 area, that's where the big institutions were making their big bets. The Russell just seems to me like got pulled up with the rest of the market. This one here bothers me, really bothers me, especially that structure. You see that really, that's actually a fair value gap, upside fair value gap. That's, yeah, that's, and see how we have this fair value gap down here that needs repaired. We technically got a fair value gap down here that needs repaired. You know, uh, this I don't like this structure at all. Especially, actually, I'm thinking maybe buy some Friday puts on IWM possibly. Give me a little bit of time here. Just based on this structure and stuff. I think I'd much rather be on the puts here in the IWM. Actually, this here really, after looking at the structure, the weekly structure, this one here really jumps out to me as a short right out of the gate early on this week. So I like this better than anything I've seen so far. So heads up on that. Hopefully I didn't bore you guys to death. I've been rambling. That's just some ideas. I will be posting trades in the Discord and Slack. So thanks for listening to my video and retweet me and all that stuff. And I appreciate it. Thanks.